Okay, hi everybody. Today I want to talk to you about Judith Scott. Judith was born in 1943 along with her twin sister Joyce. Judith was born with Down syndrome. Joyce was not. And early in Judith's life, she lost her hearing to scarlet fever. And her family or doctors, nobody knew for a very long time. So she was never taught to uh, speak sign language or anything like that. So communication was never a part of her life in that sense. And she lived with her family and was very close with her sister for 7 years of her life until, on doctor's orders, she was institutionalized. And her life in the institution was very rough. She was very neglected and it was a harmful environment. While she was there, she displayed a slight interest in drawing, but she was deemed too slow by those who ran the institution to pursue those interests. 35 years later, Joyce got her out of the institution. She decided she finally had enough, and she took her in as her legal guardian. And 2 years after that, Joyce took her to a art school for those with disabilities called Creative Growth and enrolled Judith. And that is where she stayed for the rest of her life. She did that every day. She created in Creative Growth. And for the first 2 years, it didn't go so smoothly. She had very little interest in most things that she experimented with, only did a little bit of drawing and painting. We see on the right here is Untitled from its 1988, and it's one of the very few pieces we have from that time that was actually completed. But after those 2 years, she discovered fiber arts and she fell in love, and that is the medium she worked in every day until she passed away. Yeah, and we can see a little bit of similarity in this drawing to what we'll see in her weavings and fiber arts later. So to talk about her process a little bit, first she finds objects to go in the center of her pieces or to stick out and be woven in, like we see on the right here in this Untitled from 2004 with this bike wheel and the chair. Could be anything for these objects, could be anything from random things that she found around the center to other Creative Growth artist works. Sometimes she would steal them and stick them in there. The wrapping itself was very deliberate too in what she picked. She was very particular about consistency or themes and texture and colors and whatnot. And it can seem a little random at first glance of looking at her works, but there really is a lot of intention behind it. None of the works are titled of hers, and that's important. We'll get to that a little bit more later. And these pieces could take anywhere from a week to multiple months to create. So on the left here we have Untitled 1994, and on the right Untitled 2003, 2004. And these do a good job of showing that intentional aesthetic thematics that she would stick with and making sure everything was in line with each other. So on the left, they were out of all of her common materials she used on the day that she started this work. So she went and got paper towels, and even though she had access to other materials later, as this piece took a while to complete, she stuck with these materials for this, and she kept it very intentional. And the same with the right. So this is made up of clothing, strips of clothing, string, and they're very different approaches, but fulfill that same consistency we're talking about. These are not random, accidental sculptures or anything like that. Each has an idea or a visual thematic she'll stick to. I think these show a great job of her artistic range and these stylistic intentions. So to talk about what happens to her works after she completed them, it's a little bit unique compared to many artists in that she was very much concerned just about the process of her work. She would work tirelessly on any given project and sometimes go until her fingers bled. And then once they're done, she would just push it away without any intention of seeing it, even after spending all that time and physical effort and whatever on it. She only went to a few exhibitions that featured her art, or even her own exhibitions she would rarely attend. Um, but when she was there, rarely, she would acknowledge her past works by either smiling or waving at him or patting him a little bit. And you could tell she was content with what she had made, but she was never one to revisit or go back. When she was done, she was done. She always knows the point to stop at for her. Again, it's very much about the process. To talk about potential meanings or interpretations of her works, it can be a bit of a slippery slope uh, because of Judith's disabilities, we aren't sure about anything that she made as far as meaning goes, and it would be unfair to her to tag on some bold statements or assumptions to anything, and it's likely she wasn't concerned with expressing much at all. But there are some uh, themes maybe hinted at or broad guesses that we could make. So Tom DiMaria, who is a director at Creative Growth, said there's a potential that some of the works could be inspired by the idea of keeping things dear to you secure, which could spawn from her time at the institution, as that's a very crucial element of life there. The rough environment forced many of the people there to hold everything they have close to them and make sure it's safe and really cherished. Um, she also has a lot of works that have to do with pairs and wrapping two things together. Um, and there's some guesses that could represent her and her sister, as Joyce was always her best friend, both before or after, and likely even during, just in memory, while she was in the institution. There are, however, some more unintentional contributions from Judith's art. The first of these is that all of her pieces are made up of recycled materials donated to the Creative Growth Art Center. And there's a lot we can learn from Judith's appreciation of these found objects and recycled materials and giving them a second life and really appreciating where things have come from and what their future potential is, even if it is no longer their original purpose. And there's also a great message in Judith's works about combating norms and perceptions of those disabilities. Often people with disabilities that create art kind of get grouped unfairly into a broad genre of outsider art, and discussions about these artists often have their art overshadowed by their life story and kind of takes a backseat to just patronizing downplaying of what they've created. And Judith's catalog of art combats this kind of regressive trend through undeniable artistic skill and a lack of acknowledgement of the way her work is seen by critics. She isn't concerned with that. She lacks the communication to be concerned with that, and um, in many ways, I think that contributes to what she creates because she's very unapologetic and uh, knows what she wants to make and makes it, and then knows when to end it as well. Just to end, I want to talk about the thing I love the most about Judith's works, and I think she always hits that perfect amount of adding each component to every piece that she creates. You can tell how deeply she considers each element that's in every piece. She adds just the right amount. It's really inspiring to me, and the way that she hits the right moment on everything. She'll work for so long, or sometimes even a short time, and she knows not to add too much or do too little. And I think it creates something really, truly awe-inspiring. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.